want to know how you see the world. Do you seek out urban beauty? Or do you create your own landscapes? Maybe it's outdoor adventure that makes your world turn. Let us bring your passion into focus and give you the best view yet. At Botwin Eye Group and Oculus Optical, we defy the norms by combining advanced medical eye care with Santa Fe's finest selection of luxury and artful eyeglasses. Botwin Eye Group and Oculus Optical, 2 locations in Santa Fe.
Welcome back, everyone, for another great episode with the Santa Fe Gloom podcast. We've got Meghan with SantaFam today. Meghan, thank you so much, founder and mama.
Thanks, David. I'm so stoked to be here.
Yeah, thank you. I think we were kind of just touching real briefly offline on like what the correlation is between Santa Fe Gloom, which is a futsal team, which is a form of soccer, and SantaFam. So I think during this conversation, we're definitely going to be able to collaborate and see how much we really do have in common. I did get, it was, I think, a text message. They just mentioned like, what's the connection? They were way off, but they were just trying to give like a little jab. They were like, what's the connection between Santa Fe Gloom, which is a futsal team, and Zozobra? And I was like, come on, people, go with the show. But anyways, thank you so much for jumping on. Want to thank our sponsors again. Our logo is on the top right covering. I forget who sponsors that is. I can probably remove that. But we've got the City of Economic Development. Thank you all so very much. Capital Ford, Age-Friendly Senior Care, Pit Press, Sam's Club, Mercedes-Benz, and Oculus. Without your support, without your support, none of this happens. The Gloom Games, the Fan Affair. So thank you all so very much. So Meghan, before we get into SantaFam, tell us your journey to Santa Fe.
Sure. It's pretty cut and dry. I think, I'm an outsider. I kind of lead with that, right? And I say that to show respect and reverence for space and place. Santa Fe is a city different, right? And I think that's what makes it great. There are things that run a little differently here culturally, just, operationally. But I came here because I married a New Mexican, a Santa Fean. He is 16th generation. My 2 sons are 17th generation New Mexican. So I knew when I married him, and we did get married here at the Folk Art Museum, which was so fun. I knew that in some way, shape, or form, we were going to end up here, right? Because Santa Fe boys, man, they do their thing, they go away, but you always come home. I think there's a lot to say about that pull of New Mexico in a positive way, right? There's nowhere like Santa Fe. And I say that again as a positive thing. I think a lot of outsiders will kind of use that as a jab, but that's the point, right? Like, I want to live here because it's different. So, my husband and I are celebrating 10 years of being together. So I remember, I'm from LA originally. My parents emigrated from the Philippines to Los Angeles. So big city living, and went to school in Hollywood. And you could imagine a big shift for me living here. But gosh, I really do love it. And I really feel so fortunate.
Yeah. Shout out to Pantry Dose of Santa Fe. Got you guys.
Yeah.
And I think, let's see, I was out for 10 years.
Yeah.
Went out to Colorado State, San Antonio. I was in Africa. I was in Europe. Came back. My brother, same thing. He went to UNM in Albuquerque, went off to New York City, became an attorney, was out there for 20 years, started a family, brought his wife to Santa Fe. My brother was born in Michigan, kind of grew up in California and here in Santa Fe, but he considers himself a Santa Fean. So you're absolutely right. And then he brought his family home, and you're right. We love it here. I mean, there's no traffic. In other cities, there's traffic. There's obviously people. So it's tough to navigate sometimes. When you're at home, it's quiet. It's great. My brother's wife, Valerie, she's like, no one lives here. It's great. She was born and raised in Queens, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, my kiddos love it. It's easy access, can get to school quickly. I don't have to take a train. I don't then have to take a bus.
I know.
And then walk to work. It's not so cold. So Santa Fe's got it going on. So you're exactly right. Explain to our audience what SantaFam is.
Yeah, SantaFam. So this is a passion project, David, of mine. It is an Instagram. I also have a website for folks who aren't on social media, but it's a digital space that shares resources and things to do for little ones in Santa Fe. So I kind of focus on the really, really little age, 0 to 5, for some context, and sharing free, affordable, or low cost activities here in the city. So I started when we first moved here, and I was freshly postpartum. I had my first son, Charlie, and it's really hard when you're a new mom in a new city and you just have no idea where to go, where's safe, what's to do. My day job is I have my own marketing firm. I didn't at the time, but now I do. And so I kind of just melded my hard skill set with my actual day-to-day reality, right? So Santa Fam, every day there is something to do with your child in this city. I think we talk a lot about Santa Fe doesn't have this, Santa Fe doesn't have that. Absolutely, there are areas of improvement, which we can talk about.
Mhm, mhm.
But there's some really incredible organizations here in the city who are really focus on that early childhood education component. Queen Bee Musica, the library, Bellissima Irish Dance. Like there's so many great people, a lot of whom are locals, creating that community. So Santa Fam really just aims to tie it all together, right? Like when you have a crying toddler and an infant and you're just feeling overwhelmed, I have a Google Calendar, so you can access that anytime. Like I said, it's every single day there's something to do with your babies. And I try to go who, what, when, where, why, so you don't have to do that research, right? Like I was looking up Zozobra tickets today and I was like, well, how do I get the free tickets? Like I'm gonna do that legwork so my followers don't have to do that for themselves. And it's been great. It's been really rewarding, and I say this all the time, and people who have asked me, like, this was for me first and foremost, right? Of just trying to find community, building that community here with other parents and caregivers in this city, and it's a little easier when you have other folks who are walking along the same path as you.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to my mom too. You're bringing out a lot of different things for me.
Oh,
Is my mom is a retired kindergarten teacher.
oh,
So she'll say everything you learned, you everything you've learned in kindergarten, something to that effect. Makes a lot of sense, especially if you have a good kindergarten teacher like my mom. You're
yeah.
set. You know.
That makes me feel emotional. I love when, like, grown children show love for their mama, and I hope my boys do that too in the future, right? Like, that's I started Santa Fam too because of my mom. Like, my mom created these incredible experiences for my brother and I when we didn't have a lot of resources, right? Like, my parents were immigrants and, growing up in LA, you have this, like, idea of, like, glamour and glitz. That was not our reality. And I think about how much fun we had as children, and I just hope, like, I can impart that on my kiddos as well. So, yeah, shout out to our moms.
Amen. I think that's actually a really good point too, even here in Santa Fe, right? Santa Fe has like name recognition throughout the entire world.
Mhm.
It says Santa Fe, USA. It doesn't even sometimes have New Mexico. They're just like, it's Santa Fe, you know? Um, you know, but talk us through, and this is one thing that the Gloom is really, really passionate about, is just accessibility for mamas and babies. And I think you were probably there at one point where you're at home, and this is kind of your story is where do I go? How do I get access to this? Right. And that's essentially what your platform provides. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I think, like, when I started Santa Fam, I was working at the Santa Fe New Mexican, so I was running their digital marketing agency. I'm a connector. I connect
Mhm.
people in my professional life to resources, advertising opportunities, etc. So translating that to Santa Fam, it's where can you go and feel safe with your baby, right? Because not every space is built for children. Not every space is intended for families. And the anxiety I was feeling, and I had my share of like postpartum depression and anxiety with my first child, it was debilitating, David. I
Mhm.
couldn't even fathom leaving the house.
Mhm.
Um, so Santa Fam really helped me heal in in a lot of ways, right? Of just I started looking at flyers at iconic coffee shop, and I found one for a music class at the library, or, driving down rodeo, seeing the Chavez Center board of talk time. I'm like, well, what's that? Like, what is that all about? So compiling all of the information again in just one spot, and then using my Instagram platform to give reviews and, helpful tips and tricks of, I think a lot of people are visual. Like that's why I really love social media, because you can say something, bullet point, it's at this time, this price, but really seeing like, this is where the entrance is. Like, you can use your stroller to get in through this way. Don't go this way because it's not ADA accessible. That's kind of the level of detail I'm going through, of making sure that people feel confident in attending an event or attending, a space, and knowing that A, it's happening for sure, and B, it's a place for you and your kiddos to have fun. And like I said, not every space has to be for children, but I believe the city should make kind of accommodations and considerations that, there are and always have been young families in Santa Fe.
Yeah, absolutely. My brother, he's a civil rights attorney in disability, so he's
Oh,
all about that accessibility for the ADA. So another excellent point. On your post, I've seen that you have caregiver on your post. So
yeah.
in my world, I run a company called Age Friendly Senior Care. What we do is we help the elderly age in place at home with caregivers. So caregivers can be from 17 to however age, and we
Mhm,
help with ADLs, activities of daily living, bathing, grooming, mobility assistance, medication reminders, all of those things that you would do for like our parents, our grandparents,
mhm.
age-friendly caregivers do here in Santa Fe. So, what is your definition of that caregiver in your post?
Yeah, I think so. I'm a PhD dropout. Um, a lot of my research and thesis was about kind of how we use language to create inclusion, and that's kind of the first way we open the door, right? When people can see themselves and recognize themselves in just how we advertise activities. I think, for myself, I've mentioned this, mom groups are scary to me. There's like a lot of like judgment and toxicity, and I really wanted to make sure that whoever found SantaFam organically, came across it, they saw themselves in that. So caregiver to me really is a way to open that door, right? It can be a mom, it could be a dad, it could be abuelita, it could be tia, tio. Families look so different, and so caregiver to me really is just making sure that people know that when you are caring for a small human, you're welcome here, right? And I think there's so much parallel between senior care and toddler infant care. In other countries, a lot of times preschools are actually built on top of senior living facilities, and it's such a like tender and sensitive time of life. My husband and I talk about this all the time, but like babies and the elderly are so close to that like veil of life, like beginning and end. And they're the opposite sides of the spectrum, but at the same time, so connected. So I think there's a lot of, as you said, a caregiver can be 17 years old to however, same with a caregiver in the Santa Fam world, right? Like whoever is trying to raise and care for a tiny human. And, that also extends. I have followers who have teenagers. I have followers who have grown children and intergenerationally are raising family members with one another. Like I use caregiver and moms. I think moms, we have a specific experience and whatnot. So I always want to create space, but it's a both and, right? Like I can be a mom, I can have my identity, I can have my experiences, but also build space for, someone who may be non-binary, someone who is a grandma or a grandpa, whatever that may be. And so it makes me really happy when I see a variety of what Santa Fam's familias look like here out and about.
Yeah, absolutely love it. To extend the conversation a little bit more on the senior care and the babies, that's one of my goals here in Santa Fe. And you're absolutely
Mhm,
right. They do this in the Netherlands. So they'll have like a quote unquote nursing home, and then
mhm,
they'll have like a baby daycare there, all essentially in the same building.
mhm,
And once upon a time, I worked for Santa Fe County for a brief time. And one of the projects I did was I invited all of the grandmothers at the senior centers to go talk to the teen center, the new moms who just had babies. And you would see that the seniors, they would light up like crazy holding a baby. And there was just something about it that is just like obviously just like human nature. But that was one of the highlights of my brief career there in Santa Fe County. But I think I just kind of married the two. I thought it was just it was super cool to see, and then also the grandparents or the not grandparents, the senior center ladies, they
Mhm.
spoke to the moms about,
Yeah.
this is how you can stop the baby from crying, things like that, you know? So they gave them that really good advice. So I think
Yeah.
putting all of those together and making that space for everybody is just incredible. Last time I saw you,
Mhm.
both of us were downtown Santa Fe. We were at I don't know exactly what it was called, but it was like an hour with the mayor. We got 10-minute little slots in there. I went in first, almost burnt down City Hall,
Mm,
and you
mm,
went in second. We talked there. What I want to talk to our listeners about is just kind of how do we mobilize communities, especially the Santa Fam, right? Where
mhm.
you all are doing so many amazing things because you're caring for a newborn baby. How do you go out into the community, find that time to create more social change,
Mhm.
positive change, and advocate for yourselves?
Yeah, I mean, I
Loaded
don't have
question.
the answer,
Yeah,
David.
loaded question. Yeah, it's a loaded question, but and we'll go back and forth, and I'll give you some suggestions as well.
For sure, and I think, like, I was shocked to see you there because you're David. I was like, "You have to go with the rest of us peasants to the Meet the Mayor event," and truly, for me, the origin of that was, again, on social media. I saw the city had posted, "Meet with the mayor, get some FaceTime, get some access." In my world, my entire universe is babies right now, right? It's making sure my children are safe, what school my son is gonna go to. I have a 5-month-old and an almost 3-year-old, so there's, like, a shift about to happen with my oldest in terms of what he needs, um, and that's a variety of things, and my youngest has a variety of needs as well, and in these, like, parent circles, it's a lot of, "We don't have this, we don't have that." On my DMs, I constantly get messages of parents just having a really hard time, just no matter,
Yeah.
access, privilege, background, etcetera. Everyone is having a hard time here in Santa Fe, and I think parents, caregivers especially, are too, and so I just kept seeing this, like, endless circle of commiseration. It was like, Zozobra. It's Zozobra season, so it's top of mind, but it's just gloom, just, like,
Yeah.
pure gloom, but the complete absence of hope and the complete absence of, action and agency, right? What we can do, what I can do. So again, I saw this social media post, "Meet with the mayor." I was like, "I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go meet with the mayor." They sent the invitation out, and with things on Santa Fam, it's so simple of just putting out the invitation. I'm grateful that it has become kind of like a hub for information. People know to go to it for, fun things, but also just things that are happening in the city. So I just put the ask out. I said, "Hey, I know this is at a really inconvenient time. This does not work for parents who work outside of the home, 1 o'clock on a Thursday, I think it is. That's also nap time for a lot of babies, like, and a lot of babies cannot function if they don't have a nap, like, and that's just meltdown central for everyone.
Same.
And relatable, right?
Yeah.
And in spite of all of these obstacles, it was also market, so the streets were closed, there was no parking. Trying to navigate that with a stroller, a crying baby, it's also, like, 95 degrees out still. In spite of all that, about 20 moms and babies show up to City Hall with me, and I have a great network of folks, brilliant women, brilliant minds. We came up with a caregiver advocacy packet. So we had bullet points of things that we wanted to address with the city, everything from affordable housing, um, access to childcare, access for kiddos with disabilities, a splash pad. I know will come up in the conversation, right? But it was taking all of these like grievances we saw online and just trying to put it into something productive or to at least get on the radar. Because, Mayor Weber and his team aren't on Raising Santa Fe Facebook page. Like they don't get to see what's going down. And so really that effort was to bring it to the forefront of in something formalized. And it was really hot in City Hall.
Yeah.
We were immediately told to keep our children quiet, um, which had, metaphoric metaphorical and both literal repercussion, right? Of just you're literally telling us to be quiet. Like this is our tax dollars at work. Like you work for us. I think a lot of people forget like
Mhm.
the city works for us. That's the basis of
Sure.
government, right? So it was a really good learning opportunity for me to understand which kind of levers and buttons do we need to push and pull, right? And like you said, it's hard for moms, especially like I have a 5-month-old baby. Like he's brand new. Like he can't even like sit up by himself, like or eat regular food. And you just have to make it a priority, I think, which sounds condescending a lot of times of like, "Well, just make time." But it's as simple as that. And all of the obstacles that I've mentioned, I think that only fortified my argument, right? Like we literally caused chaos in City Hall. Like there were people popping their head out of offices, babies. We were made to wait over 2.5 hours to have 10 minutes
Wow.
with the mayor. And sometimes systems are necessary, but we had asked, like, we're all here as a group. Like, we'd love 20 minutes collectively for the twenty of us. But that was not on the table. And like I said, it was a good learning opportunity. And I really want to avoid kind of the narrative of it's us versus the city. It's a with conversation, right? Like I don't think it's gonna get us anywhere. I think anger has a place, absolutely. That kind of fuels the fire. Um, but at the end of the day, this is gonna be a partnership for this to get done, right? And I hope they see me as an ally and an advocate, and I'm not on the do not do not let her in the building list.
Yeah, I've been often on that list back and forth for a couple years now. I think I'm back on the yeah, he's okay list.
Mm,
Um, but
it's because of the gloom. It's because of the soccer.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was just fighting for our cause, right? Which is just more community involvement, more things to do in Santa Fe.
Yeah, and,
Really
like,
that's the goal.
I love what you're doing, David. I think there's so much synergy between I see it as a pipeline, right? Like, I have the littles, but they're gonna grow sooner than we want them to grow, right? And what are they gonna do? What are the activities that are available to them when they're older and opportunities that can really be opened through sports? I think sports is, like, the one, like, unifier in a
Mhm.
lot of ways, so yeah, I hope they see us as allies and people who are willing to move and shake things for a
Yeah.
good reason.
No, I agree. I think it just it takes time to build those relationships, and it's just it's really baby steps,
Yeah,
And
literally for
I
me.
yeah, no, yeah, yeah, amen. I also think this. I feel like you and I, or our organizations, our networks, we're going
Mhm,
to be here longer than these city councilors are going to be there, or the mayor. They
totally,
term out, and that's for good reason because we need turnover, right?
totally.
But the gloom is going to last hopefully another 100 years, just like Zozobra, right?
Yeah,
Same with your organization, right? The footprints that you're leading right now is going to over exceed any type of city councilor opinion right now.
mhm,
But you got to keep knocking those doors down because
yeah,
politicians, government, they listen to the people who do that.
for sure.
So you have to continuously just network and keep the train going and go back to them over and over and over again.
Oh, yeah, it's a long haul for sure, and kinda the group of moms I was talking about, we had a meeting of the moms
There you go.
afterwards, and we just kind of came up with how do we keep the momentum going? The mayoral election is next year, right? So we really want to put pressure on the city to what are you going to do to make Santa Fe a family friendly place? Like,
Yeah.
what organizations are you going to continue to support? What access are you going to grant? Um, will we get a splash pad? In that conversation, they said 2 years for the splash pad. So it's happening, but I am an impatient leader, I guess,
Mhm.
impatient in many ways I've mentioned before, but childhood is so short
Yeah.
and we have a really short window of opportunity to really make it great. So I'm going to try, and I know the reality is it's not going to be available for my children, and that's okay.
Mhm.
This is for the children of the future, and also for young parents to want to stay here and raise their kids here. Like, I see so many people leave or so many people not want to live here or think they can't live here because of like issues of access and inequality. So it's a long haul. So you and I are going to be at this for
Yeah.
a while.
Yeah, it's all teamwork. I mean, you mentioned in the beginning of the show that a lot of the Santa Fe people come back, which I think is
Mm,
also true. But I think it's also true a lot of people leave, you know?
totally,
Yeah.
totally. And I even in this like short, so we've only lived in Santa Fe for 2 years, which is pretty short.
Mhm.
Um, but in that 2 year time span, I've had so many friends move to Denver, to Rio Rancho, to Albuquerque. And like I feel like every day it happens. And
Did
my
they tell
little
you why?
corner. Why?
Yeah.
Affordability, housing, rent is just insane. Childcare is a big issue here for a lot of, again, like my network.
Mhm.
There's really no place that has full-time childcare for a parent who's working outside the home 8 to 5. Preschool here is 9 to 12.
Yeah.
I have so much privilege, right? Of like, I have my own business, so I
Mhm.
can flex out my hours and,
Mhm.
cobble together a plan, but it's bleak out there, right? It's just not feasible. And then you add the cost of private childcare, which is like more than a mortgage. Half the people can't even afford a mortgage. So it's a lot of like compounded issues, and it makes me sad because I know SantaFam is like my like effort of like rallying of like this is a great place, like there is wonderful things happening, but when push comes to shove, like I can't save everyone from leaving Santa Fe.
Yeah, I don't have any kids.
Yeah,
Not for those reasons, but
yeah,
for and those reasons I'll learn. But I mean, yeah, I mean, now that I hear you, my best friends have kids, and they
mhm.
say the same thing. He's like, "Yeah, dude, it's like another mortgage." I'm like, "Holy cow!"
And that's
It's
just
like
with
it's
one kid,
yeah,
like
that's just for one. Yeah, and yeah, that it seems tough.
it
Um,
is tough, and and Santa Fe is not unique in that, it's a
correct.
national epidemic, and
Yes,
I think
it's a good
when
point.
we think about it on a national lens, it feels a little less heavy, but again, in the day to day, when you are trying to just put food on the table for your kid and you choose between, like, "I'm gonna have care or I'm gonna go to work," like, that's why I quit the New Mexican, like, I just couldn't my husband and I could not rationalize putting basically my entire paycheck to childcare.
Mhm.
Um, and in retrospect, I'm glad I had that push because it really made me push myself to recreate what motherhood, working outside of the home motherhood looks like. But again, like not everyone has that privilege, and most Santa Feans don't. Like I think about a quarter of New Mexicans youth are in poverty. Like, and that's a lot of the reason why Santa Fe focuses on affordable, free, like nothing over $10. And even if it is a small fee, like my dream is to have like a Santa Fe scholarship. So all of these activities are free for kiddos. Um, but that's a long-term goal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's one reason why Santa Fe Gloom games are free for everybody.
I know. You're
Um,
an inspiration. Like how how?
yeah, it's well, what it's the how is through our sponsors, right?
Mhm.
That's one, and people believe in exactly what we're talking about,
Yeah.
and our sponsors just leading that direction. And I think it's the right thing to do. If I'm saying
Totally.
I want the Santa Fe Gloom to be accessible for everybody in this town, one of those ways is making these games free, right?
Yeah,
And then when I put my business hat on, I ran the numbers of selling a $10 ticket or a $5 ticket. I said, we don't really need that.
yeah,
It comes out to maybe couple thousand a game.
yeah.
Yeah, it's tempting, but you know what? I'd rather tax, sorry, business community, and I'm part of it. I'd rather tax the business community to say,
Yeah,
hey, step up, guys. You want
yeah,
to do some good advertising, some good marketing to continue to take care of our community. Those are the people that I'm targeting as like my customers,
for
essentially.
sure.
And I think as a business owner, I do have that responsibility to pay my taxes, to provide a good product and service,
Mhm.
and also go above and beyond and give out good money to organizations that are trying to contribute to everyone's good, right?
Yeah.
And it's not a handout, right? Because we have the sponsors on, we can have sponsors on our jerseys, shout outs, so it's called good business. It's giving
Right.
back to the community. So I'm totally firm on that. I don't foresee um, the ticket or us charging for games. I really don't. I mean, unless something really crazy happens, but
Yeah,
I could see donation based and then
sure.
us giving a percentage to an organization. I could see that. I could see us working with the Kiwanis Club in Zozobra and
Mhm,
having our like mind saying, hey, we want to give it to Special Olympics or
mhm.
X, Y, and Z. I could see something like that, but it's an ask. It's not saying, yeah, you've got to pay us $5 to get into the business, you know? So at the moment with Santa Fe Gloom, I just don't believe in that.
Yeah,
Um,
and I feel the same way about SantaFam, like, this is a hobby, right? At the end of the day for me, like, yeah, I'm, like, set up for business just so an MGRT doesn't come after me, but it is, at the end of the day, just my time and my talent and my treasure too. Like, I have invested in this in myself, but I never want the cost to be on families of
that's
Santa
right.
Fe.
That's right.
Like, the calendar will always be free.
Mhm.
All I'm doing is aggregating information, right? Like, I am pulling things from different places, and I feel so, like, conflicted when moms and caregivers will be really nice to me, like, when we're out and about, like, pay me very kind compliments, and I feel undeserving of that, and maybe that's just my own thing I have to work through, um, but I just feel like this is ours. This is a community, collective creation, and I can't do this without other people, right? Like, I would just be an island, and that's not what I need, that's not what anyone wants. Like, I shy away from using the term, like, influencer, because it is, like, I'm creating content on Instagram, I'm creating reels and, some sponsored posts here and there, but it's really, like, I like to frame myself as just a community builder and a
Yep.
connector,
Yep.
so,
Yeah, exactly. Community member builder. I
yeah,
just say that I'm a community member.
yeah,
Period. No more,
period.
no less. Just for me. Another thing you touch on too is when I was first starting the Santa Fe Gloom and I
Mhm,
was working with the city, one thing that really irked me was they would say, David's team. Where are
mhm,
we going to put David's team? And I was thinking in my back of my mind, it's like, this is Santa Fe's team. This
yeah,
isn't mine. This is everyone's,
mhm,
and then we had the genius idea of sticking gloom.
yeah,
Right? Now it's like, holy smokes, now we're on fire.
for
Now
sure.
now we've got at the time potential sponsorships with Zozobra, which we have now, and those partnerships, right? And our last episode was with Ray Sandoval. So now it's a good vibe. But your channel is for everyone,
Yeah, for La
caregivers
Raza,
included,
for everyone, for
for
todos.
everyone. Yeah, and then if it's accessible, right? Because it's free, because it's on social media, our games are played at a public space at the public schools,
Mhm.
right? So and that's another connection too with your channel in the gloom is a lot of your audience potentially will be going to public schools and they'll see Santa Fe High School, they'll see where we practice at a church, right?
Yeah.
So it's just real authentic stuff. So
Yeah, and it's just genuine community building and
it
fun.
is,
Like,
it is.
it's not complicated, and I think, like, we can, like, get super academic and, like, talk about, like, all the layers of how we're building something sustainable, but at the end of the day, it's just being with one another, and, like, what a gift to be able to offer that space to other people.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think you or I are like geniuses about business or economics. I
No?
think we just go out and just do it. We
Yeah,
just followed my passion, your passion, and we just went out and
absolutely,
started it. I mean, it's really that simple. We just followed our passion all the way through, you
for
know?
sure. I think about, like, Coffee and Crying, so this is
Mhm,
a SantaFam, like I said, the original iteration of it was collecting events that you could go to, but I'm an event planner. One of my past lives, I planned big giant trade shows across the country, and it's just kind of in my wiring to
mhm.
organize and plan things. So eventually I kind of recognize, okay, well, there's no space for XYZ. So how can I fill that, right? Like, how could I create something? And Coffee and Crying is kind of a funny jab
I
at
love the name.
it's good branding, I
Love it.
think.
Yeah, love it.
But it's really simple. It's a place, to gather. I was in Presbyterian Hospital, had just delivered Max, my second baby,
Okay.
and I knew that I needed to walk. I wanted to find other parents who had newish babies, who wanted to meet other people. I think it's so overwhelming, especially, like, I'm an extrovert, like, I could talk to a wall and have a good time.
Yeah.
But as a new parent who may be more on the introverted side, like, that's really hard. That's really, like, so much emotional labor to be able to, like, just go up to someone at a park and be like, "Hello, do you have a baby? I have a baby. Would you like to be friends?" Like, I can do that, but not everyone is comfortable with that. So, Coffee and Crying, we pick a different park. I try to pick parks along bus routes because, again, accessibility,
Yep.
transportation, not everyone has a car,
Mhm.
in different parts of town. So we're, Swan Park to Las Acequias to Fort Marcy, kind of all around town. Some great sponsors have donated coffee. So shout out to Cafecito and
Yep.
Baked
Thank
and
you.
Brew for providing us with the coffee. And we walk or our babies play on the play structure. We cry, happy tears, sad tears. The last Coffee and Crying walk was, I think last week, and there was, like, a new round of babies for the first time. Like, we had my son was the newborn, now he's 5 months old,
Yeah.
started when he was 1 month old, and there was, like, a 3-week-old baby, and I just sobbed. I was like, "What is happening?" And just to see continuity already build and people looking forward to this event. Again, I thought I was only gonna do 1 round of, like, here's 1 walk, we'll see what happens. 75 people show up. So then I was like, okay, we'll add another one and another one. And now we're on, I think I'm on my like fourth fall schedule now. Like we did spring, summer. I don't know the seasons, but I just had a baby. My brain is sometimes working, sometimes not working. But um, I saw someone today and they're like, when's the next coffee walk? And I was like, okay, cool. Like this is gaining traction. So um, it's been fun and I need to find a coffee sponsor. So if anyone wants to
You'll
sponsor
find it.
a coffee walk,
Yeah,
let
you'll find it. Wintertime. What are your thoughts? I'm assuming it's too cold, right? And this
for
is also
sure.
kind of thinking through, give me advice when the time
Yeah.
is right, either now or whenever, on
Yeah.
how we collaborate. One thing that the Kiwanis Club and Zozobra has done
Mhm.
so well is they've integrated the youth.
Yeah.
That's they've done amazing things there, and that's one way the Santa Fe Gloom wants to incorporate the youth as well. Even
For sure.
outside of, like, futsal, soccer events,
Mhm.
I want our players to be visible in the community and doing good work to helping those kiddos being role models. So, think through that for me when the time is
Yeah.
right. But I'm curious to know, like, about your winter season too, right? And you may not have gotten there yet, but we do have Gloom games. I'm not sure
Yeah.
that's, like, the most baby-friendly event.
We
I'm
can
not
talk
sure.
about how
Yeah,
to
I
make it
don't know.
family.
Yeah, we can that's what I'm saying. This will be like episode number 2. And you can do, an Instagram post at the Gloom game, or something similar to it. I
Yeah.
would think babies are probably cool in that space. They probably have to sit a little higher up,
Yeah.
just because of the ball, but
Yeah.
I think it's a good vibe.
We could come up with, and I love David, like, this is a great kind of segue of, like, organizations have started to reach out to me to kind of consult on how do
Yeah.
we make this family friendly, right? And
Yeah.
I understand, like, not everyone understands what it's like to have a baby. Like the considerations you need to make, the logistical kind of planning and adjustment, like changing tables or stroller access or a place to put your baby down. Like, I don't expect people to think about those details. Um, so you have questions, call
Mhm.
me,
Mhm.
DM me,
Yeah.
other businesses in town. But I think, like, for winter and summer, like, Santa Fe, we kind of have extreme seasons, right? Like, even with Coffee and Crying, the walks had to be so early because it was, like, scalding hot. No parks in the city have shade, really. So, like, your baby would slide down and, like, their
Yeah.
flesh would come off, essentially. So, we'd be really early,
Yeah, you
8
gotta
AM
mobilize those caregivers
for sure.
to get some shade in the parks or
I know,
more
and
shade.
it's such a silly. Like, I go to every park, and there's a series called Charlie at the Park on my Instagram,
Mhm.
and so we kinda go through of, like, this park is right off the road, this park is like, so if you have a runner, like a kid who likes to run, don't
Mhm.
bring them here. There is shade, there isn't shade. Las Acequias Park, though, is a really wonderful shady park, so
Yeah.
for anyone who's listening and trying to figure out where to go. But for winter time, my coffee walk plan is the mall because I love the DeVargas Mall. I think that's like the hub of Santa Fe in a lot of ways. And it's indoors, there's parking, and then also having one at the Via Linda Mall, the Santa Fe Place Mall. Um,
Via Linda Mall.
yeah, OG, shout out.
Yep.
See, I know. I'm not from here, but I know.
Yeah.
I think there's different ways that I've been thinking about, like, how we can adjust with the seasons. And there's so many great indoor activities for kiddos too coming up, and I actually on the calendar will write indoor in the event description. So people can just search indoor on the Google Calendar and everything pops up. So, it's a more seasonal accommodation.
Yeah, DeVargas Mall, believe it or not, I play chess there.
Oh, yeah, are you part of that chess club?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah, I'm
tell
a
my
nerd.
husband.
Yeah, no, it's great. I love it. I feel like they kind of underestimate me to some degree. That's just the way I
'Cause you're
feel.
young?
I have no clue, but I just kinda just show up and I hold my own for sure.
Okay, well,
Um,
my son Charlie likes to play chess on the big chess set, and
yeah,
by play, I mean just knock him down, but
step by step, he'll learn.
he'll learn,
Megan, thank you so much. I think we covered so much for our audience.
for
Did
sure.
we leave anything out?
I guess my last shout out would be follow SantaFam, which
Or
is at underscore SantaFam, FAM underscore on Instagram. Every Sunday, I post a highlight of activities for the week. So one thing every day, and then a link to the full calendar because you'd be surprised. There's a lot going on every single day. So it'd just be overwhelming that lives on the highlights of my Instagram page for the week. And then on Fridays, I've started doing these like weekend roundups. So for parents who can't go to things in the middle of the week or, schedules or whatever don't permit for that, just fun things to do with your family around town. And you can subscribe to the Santa Fam calendar. I can send a link to you.
yeah, Santa Fe Gloom, we're proud subscribers for sure. We're liking
Oh,
all the
yeah. I
time.
saw your email come through my form. I was like, "Look at you go." So now you're in the know of things to
Yeah.
do with kiddos.
Yeah, the next episode we could talk about like there's nothing to do in Santa Fe. When
Yeah,
and if anybody tells me that, I'd be like, well, wait a minute, there's a lot of things to do for babies.
yeah. I just like to
I
take
know
a
a person.
shot of, like, the weekly view of just, like, how crazy it is, and, like,
I've
sometimes
seen
it's
it.
overwhelming. People are
I've
like,
seen
"I
it.
can't read this." I'm like, "Well, that's the point because there is a lot to do."
Yeah, those movies at the Violent Crown. I thought that
Oh,
was
I
cool.
know.
It
That
was
was
like 2
great.
$3 and $5 for popcorn and Coke.
Yeah.
They were real considerate. Low lighting, less noise.
Yep.
That's cool. I mean, that makes sense.
It was so fun too. I
Yeah.
think the more businesses include families in their programming and offerings, like, there's money. There's opportunity for businesses to thrive.
Absolutely.
So, and it's just like
Absolutely.
small accommodations, right? So, yeah, I'm happy to build this space with you. I'm happy to have a Santa Fam night at a Gloom game,
Of
hopefully,
course.
one of
Of
these this
course.
upcoming season. And yeah, just thank you to all you're doing for our city and for our community. And I feel lucky that we get to build this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lifelong journey, I feel like. At least for me it is, you know? And it's step by step, it gives us some perspective. You know, even my brother, when we were looking to have just the 5 games at the Chavez Center, he's like, "Yeah,
Mhm.
it may take you like 5 to 10 years to get this done." And I looked at
Yeah.
him and I was like, "You're crazy. Like, I don't have 5 to 10 years, you know." But now that I've got my feet on the ground, we've got the
Mhm.
group up. We changed kind of the venues. We changed the sport from arena soccer to futsal. I'm like,
Mhm.
you know what? Yeah, maybe it is a little bit of a longer trend. And he's like, just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just enjoy the ups and downs of running the Gloom,
Yeah.
and then he said, "Be a community member," you know?
Yeah.
Get out in the community and start promoting and talk to people because 'cause we're
Yeah.
going through a lot of the same things, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, your SantaFam has been up for how long?
Formally, only
Yeah.
a year,
Yeah,
and it has been, it's kind of been it's grown really fast, and I tell myself too to be patient. I think about it as, like, kind of like my child, right? Like,
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
kind of
Yeah,
grown as my eldest has grown too, right? And he
yep,
changes and, like, things need adjustment, and, like,
yep,
I think that's okay, right? Like, I think when we embrace that nothing is forever, nothing is final. Things do take time. That doesn't mean you have to accept things the way they are, but, um, I relate a lot of my, like, Santa Fam organizing to raising my babies,
yeah,
so it's given me grace, if you will, so
yeah, absolutely. Megan, thank you so much. We'll have you on again. We're gonna have you
Yeah,
guys at a Gloom game.
yeah, I'm gonna roll through with my crew of babies
Yeah,
and
you're gonna
parents,
love it.
mamas, and
And when we score, let those babies cry. Happy
oh
tears.
my gosh, the best. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, David. It was so fun.
Yep. Thank you, Megan. Appreciate it.